3, 2, 1, go! This video is about the Canon 18 to 135mm lens. We'll answer the question, is this lens any good? And what kind of photography is this Canon 18 to 135mm lens good for shooting? This lens review will look at the strong points of the 18 to 135 and its weaknesses. You'll see plenty of sample photos and video clips that show you what it's useful for. We are heading to Rowan University to test out this new 18 to 135 lens. Canon came out with one of these in 2009, and the second version was, I think, 2012. And this version, the USM Nano, came out in 2016. All right, so without a doubt, the most intriguing part about this lens, its best feature, is as a 7.5 times zoom range from 18 to 135. So it makes it really whoa! I really bombed with finding good subjects for video at the university. But here are two videos shot from a parking garage that show you the zoom range of the lens from 18 to 135mm. You can use this lens to shoot video or stills of wildlife, provided it's close by. There's 18, 24mm, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm, and 135, and then all the way back to 18. So the zoom range of this lens is pretty good, but what about the other types of photography you can shoot with this lens? Here's a few more samples that were taken with the 18 to 135 lens. Okay, Bruce, what about action photos and sports photography? Can the 18 to 135 lens handle that? Well, check out this video from the softball field. Let's take a look out in left field. Oh, how about we look in at third base? I'm going to zoom into home plate. My granddaughter's at the plate. Let's see what she's doing, how she swings. Huh. Where is everybody? All the fields are empty because of the coronavirus. Unfortunately, right now I can't test this lens for sports photography. We're in the 8th week of social distancing with the pandemic of 2020. The lens is fine for youth sports where you're somewhat close to the action. It's not powerful enough to be effective for shooting professional sports in a large stadium. So the Canon 18 to 135mm lens can also work really well as a portrait lens for individual poses like that, head and shoulder shots, even tighter head shots, and it can also work for group shots like this. So what about macro photography? Let's check it out. Let's test the 18 to 135 with some close-ups of some flowers. Now the 18 to 135 is not a macro lens, but I was pleasantly surprised at how close I got to some of those flowers when I zoomed all the way into the 135mm fully zoomed in setting on this lens. The official lens specs are that it has a minimum focusing distance of 15 inches, which gives you a magnification factor of 0.28, and that's pretty good for a zoom lens. Alright, so the Canon 18 to 135mm IS USM Nano lens is really versatile. But what about the weaknesses and the strengths? What are the weaknesses of this lens? Number one is distortion. At the wide angle settings, you'll get that barrel distortion. So barrel distortion causes a bulging of your image. The vertical and horizontal lines bulge outward. With pincushion distortion, it's the opposite. The lines tend to pinch inward toward the center of the photo. Either one of these problems can be easily fixed with software. All right, the second weakness of this lens is its sharpness. The sharpness is good, it's just not great. With a lens with this much zoom, from 18 to 135, with that much range, you tend to lose a little bit of the sharpness as compared to an L lens or a prime lens. The third weakness of this lens is its maximum aperture. The 18 to 135 lens can only open up to f3.5. It's a variable aperture lens, which means as you zoom closer, the maximum aperture actually gets smaller and goes up to f5.6 as the widest setting you can get. All right, here's a comparison of the maximum aperture of the 18 to 135 and an f1.8. And this is a bigger lens because it's for the full frame Canon cameras. But you can see this lets in about 4 times as much light as the 18 to 135. f3.5. If your lens can't open up that far, you may have to use a slower shutter speed or a higher ISO setting to get the correct exposure. The other thing that's affected by maximum aperture is the degree of out of focusness of the background. I'm going to call that bokeh. I'll leave a link in the description below this video if you need some more information on that. When you're shooting portraits, it's often desirable to have a really out of focus background. Separate your subject from the background so that you look at the subject instead of the background. So it sounds like I'm ripping the 18 to 135 lens. I'm not. It's a good lens. As I said, it's just not a great lens. What are the 18 to 135 millimeter lens good points? We already talked about the 7.5x zoom range. The second strength, it's quick and fast when it comes to autofocusing, and that's really good for shooting videos. If you pair it up with one of Canon's dual pixel focusing cameras, it's really fast at focusing. Benefit number 3 is the image stabilization. It's up from 3.5x in the previous version up to 4 stops of image stabilization. I'm a big tripod user, so I don't use image stabilization a lot, but it really is one of the big advantages of this lens that photographers really like. I invest thousands for lenses for my pro cameras, my full frame cameras. For my 70D and now my 90D, I'm a little bit more frugal. Right now the Canon 18 to 135 sells for around $600 new. I got a used one in mint condition from eBay for a little over $200. So for my 70D and 90D, this lens is really a great walk-around lens. I hope you found this video helpful. You may also enjoy the video on the EF versus EF-S lenses, or even the video on the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens as a cheaper alternative to the Canon 18 to 135 lens. You can get access to all my Canon videos if you hit the subscribe button. You can also get notified of any new videos if you hit that little notification bell. Please let me know in the comment section what camera you're going to use the 18 to 135 lens with.